Please welcome the director of the Bling Ring, Sofia Coppola.
Thank you for the warm welcome.
When did this story come on your radar?
I remember it being on the news about these teenagers robbing celebrities' houses, but I should talk more. I feel like more an NPR voice.
I think.
Yeah, like I'm like.
Do you want me to do like a Garrison Keillor kind of voice?
Yeah.
Kitchen.
So I remember it was on the news.
Hello, Sophia.
Yeah. I remember it was on the news, and I did. Yeah, it seemed like a crazy story, but I didn't pay that much attention. And then I was on the plane looking at a Vanity Fair, and I read the article that Nancy Jo Sales wrote, and when I read the article and the quotes of the real kids, I got really interested in it. I thought somebody has to be making a movie of this, and I never thought that I would, but I looked into the rights, and the rights were available, and I met Nancy Jo Sales, and she had all these interesting stories, and I just kept thinking about it, and so I started to think about I've never done something based on a true crime story, and how I would approach that, and still in my style, or something that felt connected to me, and but really just reading her transcripts and all the quotes for the real kids just fascinated me, and I thought it had a lot of humor and excitement, and also I thought really said a lot about contemporary culture.
Yeah, because it must. I think in the material and then really in the film, it has this edge of kind of terror.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a horror, sci-fi horror element to me.
Yeah. Maybe you could argue that Marie Antoinette is kind of based on a true crime story. People pillaged, plundered a nation.
Yeah,
right?
I never thought of that. I've heard comparisons in just all the amount of shoes and things like that, but I didn't think about the crime aspect. Yeah.
Did you have? I'm wondering if it was a long process to decide how you were going to tell the story, because you tell it in a very unusual way, I think, where there is a protagonist, but really our attention is shifts between all of these different people.
Yeah, I tried to. When I first started working on the script, the biggest challenge was most of the characters were unsympathetic. So how do you want to watch a story where you don't care about the characters? And then the more I researched it and read about them, I tried to put myself in their mindset of how they got involved in it, and then I connected to the main character of this boy who kind of got taken in by this group of girls and wanted to be a part of the gang and belong, and remembering that they're 16 years old, and so you could understand where he was coming from, and just that they're kids, they're trying to find their identity, and they're wanting to be part of some life that they think is glamorous and will make them people.
And they're also walking through their day with Adderall coursing through their system.
Oh yeah. Yeah, one of the girls did a reality TV show, so a lot of the home life was based on what I saw on her reality show.
Yeah. I mean, the story of her mother could make a film in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, the show Pretty Wild it's got a lot in there.
Yeah. And I guess when you were casting and then when you were working with the actors, what kind of a tone did you try to set with them to get that sort of floating, disaffected feeling?
Well, it's important to me that it feels natural and realistic as possible, because the story is so over the top that it could have easily turned into a cartoon kind of skit, because a lot of their quotes are pretty ridiculous sounding, but there was so it was important that the actors were all really sincere about their intentions, so you could make it so it's believable. But bless you, in the police reports, one of the girls was arrested for stealing something from Lindsay Lohan's house, and she asked the detective. The only thing she said was, "What did Lindsay say?" Yeah. So I felt like these kind of quotes, said so much where their thinking was.
How much did you have to invent?
A lot of it was based on real details, because that's what I enjoyed so much about working on it and learning about it was when I met the boy who was involved, and he said that the main girl wanted to steal Paris Hilton's dog. I thought, like, I couldn't make that up, how extreme it was. So a lot of it was based on the real story, and then I imagined, just kind of remember being a teenager and spending a lot of time driving around listening to music, and tried to personalize it as much as I could.
But then when Leslie Mann's character appears, there's an interesting kind of shift in tone, I think, because she's a little bit more overtly comic, brilliantly, I think.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit sort of like the parents in Peanuts or something.
Yeah, actually, I like that the parents that you really stay in the world of the kids, and they're not connected to the parents, and you barely see the parents, and it is kind of like that, the way in Peanuts you don't see them, or they're garbled. So I did want to have a real separation between the world of the kids and then the parents' world that they're not connected to. And I thought of King of Comedy too.
In what way?
When Rupert Pumpkin's doing his imaginary talk show, and his mom is calling him, he's like, "Hold on, Mom." Like, so there's that. Yeah. So there's that element of kind of when you're a kid and they have they're acting cool, and then how awkward they are in their real life.
Yeah, because there is that sense of unreality too, like Rupert Pupkin, like they're kind of, walking through this fantasy version of, the way that they think life should be.
And I was struck by, there was a clip of the real boy that he posted on Facebook of he filmed himself just like smoking a bong and dancing, and it's really just so raw and personal. Like watching it is it's pretty embarrassing because it's such a private moment, and he's feeling really cool, feeling cool, and we recreated that in the movie, but it just kind of shows that they're kind of where they were in that age.
One thing that I thought was really striking in the movie was that, in general, I mean, there are a couple of exceptions, but all the interactions between all the kids are more or less desexualized. Like all of their attention is on things.
Yeah, that's what I thought, that there wasn't any intimacy and there wasn't sexuality. They were just more excited by the stuff and the patent leather, the glossy stuff. But even the girls were looking sexy, but it was more just about to get attention, or they were more interested in fame and bling, I thought, from the story.
Go ahead.
Oh, and the boy in real life, he was figuring out his sexuality and came out as gay after the story. So I always thought there was a love story between the main girl and boy, but it wasn't sexual. But that way you have this really intense friendships when you're a teenager.
That seems really clear in the movie without being stated, I think.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah. And was he really the one who was always saying, "Come on, we got to get out of here. Somebody could come any minute"?
He seemed like he was definitely the ringleader. Was calling the shots, and he was kind of keeping up with them. I don't know if he got into it more, but that was my impression from talking to him and what I read, that he that whenever he wanted to get out, she's like, "Let's just do one more," and then of course they get busted.
And then more and more people started to just kind of glom on to the.
Yeah, and they were bragging about it, posting pictures on Facebook of them and their stuff, and
maybe we'll take a look at we have a clip.
Oh, okay.
So maybe we can take a look at that now.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
I like the feel of this.
Oh my god, this is Balmain. So cute. Oh. Wait. It's so cute. Oh my god.
So that was breaking into Paris Hilton's house.
Right. As if you couldn't tell.
Yeah. And the best part is that's her real house that she let us film.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I just found that out today. I was.
Oh, really?
Did you just give her a call and ask her, and did it take convincing, or?
I don't know how we came about to actually ask her, but Stephen Dorff, who was in Somewhere, knew her, and he knew I was working on the script, and he said, "Oh, Paris Hilton's having a party. Do you want to go to her house?" And I said, "Yes, I want to see her house." And and there were those pillows were really on the couches, and I got my picture taken with one of them, and
Did you post it on Facebook?
No, I don't have a Facebook. I'm not a
That's a joke.
yeah, I know. But and I'd heard about her nightclub. Yeah, we know. But anyway, I'd heard about her nightclub room, so I got to see that, and that's all in the movie. But yeah, so we saw her house, and we asked her to do a cameo in the movie, and I don't know how we came about asking her to let us film in her house, but luckily she let us film there. We didn't have the budget to build that hall. Yeah.
Yeah. Were any of the other houses actually the real thing? Yeah.
No, hers is the only one. The other ones we just invented our
Yeah.
version. We kind of made a little bit more like glamorized version of Hollywood celebrity house.
Yeah.
houses.
But people actually just kind of left their doors open, their keys under the mat, their wallets in their cars, all that stuff.
Yeah, I guess there's
Yeah.
this false sense of security and a lot of also she lives in a gated community, and a lot of the where they were opening cars and stuff, but I guess it's just kind of a relaxed attitude. but yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about the extraordinary look of the film, and before we started, you and I were talking about Harris Savides, and who passed away, and he was there on the set of this film, and he was very involved in the visual design. And
Yeah, I started working with Harris, who he got ill during the filming, so he had to leave and come back, and one of his longtime assistant was the operator, so he filled in when Harris couldn't be there, and we looked at references and talked about the look, and he told me he wanted to shoot it on a digital, on the red camera, which I had never done before, and but he was such a great artist, I trusted whatever he thought, and so yeah, it was a good introduction for me, and we I remember showing him Claire, the blonde actress you saw, I remember showing him some pictures of her from her Facebook page in her like pink bikini, and pictures she took in her car, and different kind of snapshots of kind of the look of the movie, and we talked about the kind of the contrast between the beige suburban world and the glittery night of the city, and it was we were shooting the nightclubs, and he would flash lights around, and I thought he'd made a really beautiful look out of this world that isn't so beautiful.
Were there any other references outside of the you said that you talked over visual references?
Yeah, I always whenever I'm making a movie, when I do the script, I always put together pictures that
Like a lookbook.
Lookbook of kind of the mood or the feeling. So this one was more tabloidy, but I always I have tons of art books and look at I can't remember specifically for this, but just we look at pictures together and talk about the feeling of it, and we were also mixing the surveillance video and stuff online, so it made sense to shoot it digitally.
Do you ever look at movies for reference?
Oh, yeah, not so much for the photography, but I thought about Over the Edge and Foxes for this, and I think I mentioned Foxes to him. And there's a shot where the girls are in bed at the beginning, and it's really backlit, and that was kind of an homage to Foxes. Yeah. But I love that tradition of teen bad kid movies, so I wanted to make this in that tradition.
And that's an essential teen bad kid movie, Foxes.
Oh yeah, Foxes, and Over the Edge.
And Over the Edge too, with Matt Dillon, And I wanted to ask you about, I'm sure everyone who's seen the film was probably as astonished as I was by that incredible shot of them walking through what's supposed to be Orlando Bloom's house.
The glass house on the hill.
Yeah.
That was a Harris shot that he designed from across the street, the slow zoom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was really grateful to Harris because he we were shooting all these robberies and we're trying to make each one look different. And when he saw the location photos of this glass house, he said, "Oh, we have to shoot it from across the street." And that was a Harris shot that we were running out of time, and we took it off the schedule at one point, and he really fought that we have to get that shot. So I'm so glad, because that is one of my favorite shots, and a shot that people notice and love.
It's stunning. But one of the elements that I think makes it so stunning also is the sound of the coyotes and the sirens.
Oh, I love working with Richard Beggs, who I've done all my films with, and he comes up with such. Whenever I see the movie after he's worked on it, it's like a whole other thing. So I loved it how we thought, I'm glad we didn't need to use music there, and that he built the atmosphere with the other coyotes and the hills, and just makes you feel like you're there.
Yeah, and sirens, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about the casting process for this film. I would imagine it might have been a little bit different from.
Yeah, I mean, it was really important for us to put this gang of kids together, and my casting team spent a year meeting young actors everywhere, and I was excited to have some kids that have never been. It's their first movie for a few of them, and then they said, "Oh, you should meet Emma Watson." They really liked her. I would have never thought of her for this kind of Valley girl, and she had a really interesting kind of take on it, and. So she studied her Calabasas accent and took it really seriously. And then the other kids were there's one girl from Chicago and one girl from LA, the blonde, who's like a real LA girl. So she was sort of our consultant, and she helped us through, because she was the only one that was really from there, and one girl from. Taisa Farmiga, whose sister is Vera Farmiga.
Sister,
So it was really, we just met tons of kids, and then we put all their pictures up on the wall and look how they felt as a group, and because they had to work together, and then we did rehearsals before filming, and they spent a lot of time together. So by the time we started shooting, they felt like friends, and they had kind of a rapport that I think comes through.
Do you let the actors get to the set and work out their blocking on set to be inspired by the sets themselves?
Yeah, I've never been able to shot list or plan before I see the actors on set, and then let them do what feels natural in the environment, and then we plan how we're going to shoot it around that. And I have an idea of what I want it to look like, but then we get on set, and then I always try to see what feels right to them, and then we figure it out together.
And it looks like you're always trying to surprise yourself.
I try to keep it. It's not too planned out. I try to be flexible and open to what happens, because you don't really know until you get there, and you try things out.
I mean, that leads me to a broader question about all of your work, which is I have this impression, and maybe this is something that we can talk about or not, that when you make a film, you're in pursuit of something that's almost so delicate that it's unnameable, and that you want to let things happen that are, I mean, sometimes in your movies there's a spell that's cast that's almost very difficult to write about or to talk about.
Oh, that's nice. I don't know, no, that's cool. I feel like, and I don't know if somebody said this or I imagine it, but it's like trying to remember a dream. Like I think when you start a movie, you have like an impression of what it feels like, but I'm not ever sure exactly what it is, and a lot of times I don't know why I'm drawn to something until after. Like I try not to analyze them. I just try to go along with it, and then later I can see how that connects to something. But I try to be intuitive as much as I can, and I usually when I'm writing it, I have a sense of the atmosphere, just sort of the feeling of the look or the music, and but I'm not really sure where it's going.
But you're trying to protect something, preserve something that you.
I guess whatever initially sparked your interest, I try to capture that or stick with that. But
that's what I think Stanley Kubrick said something like that. He said,
really?
that's what you spend all of your time doing, is trying to protect that little
kernel of something that
But
for me it's trying to find you find your way. You start off with an idea, and then you try to find it, I guess.
In this particular movie, did you see things as you were shooting it tip a little bit more in the direction of comedy sometimes, or?
I always like things that have some humor to them, and I thought
Yeah.
the story had a lot of humor, just in the kind of, but in a touching way, and just like the absurd things in life, and because they're kids making these kind of crazy decisions, and
Mhm.
so I tried to, I always enjoyed that part, and the fact that, you know, that they really said, oh, Paris probably leaves her keys under the mat, and they went there and they really were under the mat. Like, so I enjoy all those kind of details, and so I try to put those in, but you know, it's always try to be naturalistic or subtle. I don't know if I would know how to do like full on comedy, even though I enjoy that.
Yeah, you're trying to catch a way of behaving, a way of living.
Yeah, and it's always like kind of the funny little details that I like.
Yeah. Have the people whose houses were robbed seen the film?
I don't think so, just Paris.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And?
So,
And?
yeah. Yeah, she was really into it. She came to our premiere, and she said she got emotional when she saw them in her house. Yeah. So, yeah.
So has all that changed? Do they now have, you know,
Security.
yeah, 24-hour security
Oh,
guards and?
I don't know. I'm sure after all that, people are more careful.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Okay.
but I wasn't thinking so much about the victims, or I was really trying to stay in the point of view of the kids in the story. So.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll take some questions from the audience. If I know we have a mic. Yeah, right there.
Hi, Sophia, I was wondering, with a great deal of your movies, you marriage a certain time period with music. For, like with Marie Antoinette, you had the 80s rock, and so you had more of an atmospheric vibe with Somewhere. Would you describe the music that accompanies the Bling Ring?
I tried to have music that the kids would really be listening to. So there's more like hip hop songs and stuff that I would normally listen to, and I wanted to have the energy of these kids on this thrill ride. So I picked music that had that feeling. And there's a song by Sleigh Bells that is the opening of the movie that I was listening to that, and I pictured the opening of the movie and was writing it to that song, and I played that song on set. So this movie, I think, has a kind of hyper obnoxious feeling, and I wanted that to be in all the elements.
What do you mean hyper obnoxious feeling?
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, after Somewhere was so slow and minimal, I was, when I read the story, I was just in the mood to do something fast paced and kind of just not bright colors and fast cutting and loud music, and not as tasteful. It's like, you know, more
contemplative.
Yes, yeah. Less minimal, I guess. Yeah.
Brad Balfour.
Yes. Did the actors get a chance to talk to the kids? Did you get a chance to talk to the kids? And what I want to look inside that conversation, and also what you guys talked about once you've seen these houses. What did everybody feel? Conspicuous consumption, or did they want to walk away with the Beaumont or not?
I met one of the girls and one of the boys of the real burglary ring, but the actors never met them, and I just was trying to learn as much as I could about their point of view, and the boy was the most helpful because he, he talked about it, and I could tell that it was this great thrill, but then, of course, he was on his way to jail and what it had done to his life, so he was also remorseful, and I think it was just hearing his perspective and kind of little details that he told me about how they would steal cars, like no big deal, and so that was helpful and interesting, and the girl was still talking about how she wasn't involved, which was the other side of it. So, but I only met them, kind of briefly, and but the actors didn't meet them. And what you asked, what we thought of the houses, like.
Well, or did anybody discuss, have a conversation about,
The excess.
underlying theme?
We just talked about we stayed in talked about what these characters were into and kind of tried to stay focused on that. I think the kids, the actors were, aware of that, but because they're not like the kids in the movies at all, and they weren't into that stuff, and so they had to kind of find a way to get into it, and we had to tell the boy how to pronounce Dior and things like that. He said Dwar. We did like a reading, and so yeah, they had to find a way to get into it, but they all have a good perspective of because the story's so extreme.
I mean,
Yeah.
that raises a question, which is, do you as a director ever discuss the underlying theme with the actors, or do you find that a helpful thing to do?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't like to get out of it. I like to stay
Yeah.
in the moment and stay in the point of view. And I had them watch movies that glorified robberies, and they watched Thomas Crown Affair
Yeah,
and
the Hot
Ocean's
Rock,
11. And
yeah.
I wanted them to stay in the mindset of the characters, that this was fun and a thrill, and not look at the other side of it.
Yeah. Let's take someone up here. Yes, in the back.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, I've seen all your films except for this one, which comes out on my birthday. But how do you get great performances? Like, even with Elle Fanning in Somewhere and your first film, like, you really get good performances from young actors. How do you go about doing that?
Oh, thank you. I think it's in the casting, just casting talented actors. Elle Fanning, when I met her, I just was so taken with her, and I felt she can do anything. So I just kind of let her do her thing, and we talked, and I try to make the set as comfortable as possible, and also try to make the set close to the feeling of what the scene is. So when there's a party scene, we'll really play music and try to make it feel like that. And I think, I guess, trying to make this atmosphere of the set close to what's going on in the scene helps. But I think a lot of it's casting people that you think understand what you're trying to do. So you talk about it and they get it. That helps. But thank you. I'm trying to think. And then doing rehearsals, like we do a lot of improvisations together, which something I learned from my dad was in on Virgin Suicides we did was like building fake memories for your characters. So on Virgin Suicides, we rehearsed in the real house, and they made lunch together as a family and did things together, so that when we start filming, they haven't just met, they have these kind of memories of their characters, and I find that helpful. And in Somewhere with Elle Fanning and Stephen Dorff, he really would pick her up from school, and we went bowling and stuff that the characters might do. So I find that helpful.
Thank you very much. You've really been an inspiration for me as a filmmaker.
Thank you.
I
Happy
appreciate it.
birthday.
Thanks.
Were you able to rehearse a lot in the real spaces for the Bling Ring?
For this one we didn't get to rehearse so much in the real places because we were changing locations every day. But I had a friend leave their house one night in the Hollywood Hills, and they had to break in to the house. They had to find a way in, and we told them things they had to take, and they worked out a lot of their kind of robbery gang dynamics during that. So we set up things like that, but not actually the real places.
Yeah.
Hi, Sophia. Back here.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. The question I had for you was, and since I haven't seen the film, I don't know if there's any truth to these comparisons. It could be, journalists being journalists. But I've read reports that journalists are drawing comparisons of the Bling Ring to the March film Spring Breakers with Harmony Korine. And I was wondering if you think there are any truth to these comparisons, sort of like the girls being bad complex. And I was just curious to hear your thoughts on that comparison.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Spring Breakers, but from my impression from what I know about it, I can see people bringing it up to me. But I feel like the approach of this movie is a different point of view. It's not an exploitation movie, and that one I feel like is more like an exploitation thrill ride with girls in bikinis, and so I feel like it's a different look. And it's also, I don't know, this is a true story in that one, but I can see that there's kids dressing trashy and having bad behavior. So in that way, I feel like that's in the air. But I feel like it's a different kind of point of view of that. And okay, I hope that answers that.
I think that when Paul Schrader's movie The Canyons with Lindsay Lohan opens, that's going to be brought into the conversation too.
When is that coming out?
It's actually at the beginning of August.
Oh, because I remember reading about it, and then
Yeah. There was someone. Yeah. If you. Yeah.
I'll just talk loud. Most of your protagonists are like young females in their teens or early 20s. And I know the Bling Ring is based on true events with real people, but do these characters have any autobiographical influences from you?
These ones in this
We're
movie?
going to repeat the question
Oh.
because young lady didn't use
She
the
asked
microphone.
if a lot of my characters, protagonists, are young women, and is there an autobiographical aspect? Do you mean in this movie or all of my movies?
Especially this movie, but
Oh, and this one, no, it's probably the least personal of my movies, but I still, put myself in it and try to find a way to connect to it. But I think it was the biggest challenge to try to get myself in the point of view of these characters, where Lost in Translation, the girl, was really based on things I was thinking about going through at that time. So that was different for me, and that was, the biggest challenge was try to. I mean, the boy is the main character that I was trying to who I was relating to, and to try to remember being that age, and he's vulnerable, and how I could connect to that in the character. But there's different. I feel like in Somewhere, there's parts of myself in the Stephen Dorff character and in the Elle Fanning, and I think with any character you find parts of yourself that it's an aspect of you that you can relate to.
Have you had the occasion to take a second look at some of your films after the fact and get a different perspective on them?
Yeah, I haven't. It's funny because I saw Virgin Suicides at a screening, and I hadn't watched it on a screen since we made it. So it was fun to watch because enough time has passed that I could actually watch it and feel like an audience. And but otherwise, I haven't. Like, I'll see a little clip on TV or something, but I haven't really watched my work. It's hard to.
Is it someone way in the back? Oh.
Hello. I'm just curious, being a third woman to win an Oscar and being from a third generation Oscar-winning family, have you ever experienced any type of glass ceiling in such a male-dominated industry in directing?
I think because I originate my own work, and I'm not up for jobs against people very much, that I don't feel that. I feel like I make my movies and I'm able to make them, but I'm sure. I mean, I've had experiences where I'm aware of that, and sometimes there's a boys' club, but in general, I feel lucky that I've been able to make the kind of films that I want to make.
Yeah. Maybe we could just get the. Oh, okay. 1 sec. Oh, there goes the microphone. Yeah.
Hello? Okay, it's still working. Sorry about that. Thanks.
I'm wondering how you used the material from Pretty Wild, because there was just so much of it that really showed exactly what was going on during the arrest and everything, and if like Emma Watson watched it at all to get some inspiration for the character or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was fascinating that these characters I was reading about had a reality show at home, and I'm sure they were acting up for the cameras and kind of wasn't, I don't know how realistic it was, but I definitely got a lot from the home life from them. And I don't know, I think I just watched it until I kind of had enough of it, and and just took the stuff that stood out in my mind with her handing out Adderall to the kids and making a big deal of it, and her homeschooling them with The Secret. That definitely was unique, and I thought,
Let's hope it's unique.
Yeah, I thought that added an element of kind of where they were coming from. So and then I loved the interview. There's a scene where she's doing the interview with the Vanity Fair reporter that I really took the dialogue from. It's all from the transcripts of the real interview, and but yeah, I can't remember how I went through it, but I didn't want to. I wanted to keep it in balance, and I didn't want to have that character have a reality show, because then it just felt like a whole other story. I wanted to keep it just a slice of that moment, but just have a little impression of their life at home.
Did you study the Church of the Secret?
No, so I got a book and I kind of looked at it, but I didn't really take it all in.
Yes. Yeah.
But I was surprised that there isn't a curriculum for homeschooling, that it's such a free for all.
With the Church of the Secret, I know she seems to have developed that on her own. Yeah. It's admirable. Yeah.
I was wondering that did those kids actually brag about those actually robbery in a school? I mean, I just saw the film today. I was wondering that did those kids actually brag about
At
robbery
school?
in a school like that?
In school. Yeah.
He asked if they bragged about the robbery in school. Yeah, it was my impression from other kids that how they got arrested were because they were talking about it at parties, at these Valley parties, and then they were posting pictures on Facebook of them with the stuff, and people called in and said, "Oh yeah, so and so was talking about that." So they were proud of it. They were. Mm.
Mm. Yes, over here. Okay.
Oh yeah, I guess after I finish a movie, I take a little break and then figure out what I'm drawn to, and so with this, but I'm never sure what it's going to be. And then with this, at first I didn't think I would. I just thought it'd be a fun movie, but I didn't really think I would do it. And then I read more about it and got into it, and I got maybe like watching other movies. I remember thinking about To Die For, which was based on a real story, and I loved how Gus Van Sant made that. It had a little bit of that had more of a documentary kind of collage feeling.
Back and forth, yeah.
Yeah, where the characters are talking to the camera.
Yeah.
But wait, so how do I approach the script? Is that what? Yeah, I guess with original, when I wrote an original script, I had little bits of idea. Like for Lost in Translation, I had little ideas for scenes, and I would just write notes and almost like little short stories of moments for scenes. And then finally had enough of them that I started to kind of piece them together. And then this, when it's based on material, I had a big binder of all these transcripts from the journalists, and I just went through them, kind of highlighting anything that I thought was interesting, and then looking at how to string those pieces together into a story. And it was kind of a puzzle with all the robberies. I remember having like index cards all over my wall, trying to figure out the series of balancing the robberies. And what they're doing is so redundant because they're doing the same thing over and over again. So kind of making that the pattern for the story. But it's always mysterious to me. I find writing really hard, and somehow you get through it to the end. But it's always a struggle.
I want to shift gears for 1 second, ask a technical question. This is the first time that you've shot digitally, and you shot on the red. So I was just wondering what the experience was like for you and how it felt different.
Yeah, I love film so much. So I was really hesitant to move into the modern world, but it seemed suited for this movie, and I thought it was really fun. It was fun to see what you were shooting right away, and on some big beautiful monitor. But I did find that it was more passive, and because I'd find myself hanging out at the monitor, and I have to remind myself to go back on set and participate, because you feel like you're sitting in front of this big TV watching your movie, and it's different than the mode of making your movie.
Yes.
So I've never used monitors before. I've always just been at the camera and had like a little clamshell to take the shot, but I've never been one of those people that sits by a monitor. So that was a little bit, kind of tempting. But I was happy with the result. And as far as the crew, like it didn't seem that much different. I thought you still have to light it, and you still need, it wasn't so different, the crew size or the approach, but I think the only thing different was being able to watch it as you go.
Did you change anything in post?
I think we had little things to clean up that were easier to remove or change things, but I'm not in the habit of fixing it post. I'm used to film, so there were little things and it was easier. And I think just mixing the surveillance footage, and I'm trying to think. Yeah.
Yeah, all the way in the back.
I guess dovetailing off the question around the process, I was curious about the fact that the movie is based on real events. Did that ever feel like a creative constraint? And how did you overcome it?
Yeah, yeah. I think because I made it, because I made it fictionalized and I changed their names. I felt more freedom to change things, but I really liked basing it on the real material because that was so interesting to me. So it really is based on the real facts. But then I felt that I could change things as I needed because I changed their names and I could kind of make it my own. And I combined characters. A lot of times with real stories, there's more characters involved that it would be confusing in a movie, so you can combine them and make them a smaller group to be able to follow.
Can you just wait for the microphone?
You come from such a large family, and you direct a lot of your relatives. How do you feel directing your relatives like Jason and Marie Antoinette?
Oh, I mean, it was fun to do Marie Antoinette with Jason because we grew up together, and I love Jason, and also he's so entertaining and fun to have around. So it's nice. It just feels like an extension of your time together, and it's always nice to have that familiarity on set. And Kirsten I've known since she was 16, so I think of her like family. So it's it always makes it nice to have people that you're close to.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's see. Do we have yes?
Yeah. When you're making a film, do you have any favorite films or filmmakers that you consult to inspire you or to guide your direction?
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely have movies that I love, and I think with each movie, you think about references for that particular one, and I'm trying to think for this. I mean, I was thinking of Over the Edge, and Foxes for the kind of the spirit of these kids frustrated in their life and wanting to grow up, and I don't know, with Lost. I was thinking with Lost in Translation. I loved Brief Encounter, which had this relationship with the restraint. So there's definitely, and with Marie Antoinette, there was the movie with was it called Listomania? The Franz Liszt
Listomania?
movie.
By Ken Russell?
Yeah. Now I think of
With
yeah.
Roger Daltrey.
Yes, and I thought about that where they have paparazzi with snapshot cameras and ice cream sundaes, but it's it takes place. It's about Franz Liszt, so that kind of that they had that pop freedom. So definitely, movies will influence what I'm working on.
What about Somewhere? Is there something?
Somewhere. Oh, Harris showed me a Chantal Akerman film. It was an address of a woman in
Jeanne Dielman.
Jeanne Dielman.
Yeah.
He showed me that, and that it has takes in real time that go on and on, and that got me excited about the idea of shooting things more in real time and just having one shot go on.
Yeah.